Hi everyone, Lavrenti and Elena here. And today we have a very interesting case, although it looks more or less like usual. Yes, something seems to have grown there, but actually let me tell you how we first met. Let me digress a little to talk about when the client sits down. I sped up these shots and kept them in. Notice that her legs are swollen, so they look quite large because of the swelling, but that's an important detail. We'll come back to that a bit later. So our acquaintance began with correspondence, and that correspondence happened quite a long time ago. A female subscriber tried to reach me, but nothing worked. I would occasionally send her the salon's contact information, but of course no one would book an appointment with me there because they only book with the salon's masters and I don't work as a master. So basically I was getting, let's say, some complaints about the fact that she had a problem and for some reason I wasn't booking her in. Well, I think there was some kind of misunderstanding, but even so I was a bit shocked and thought, well, if someone is writing to me like this, maybe she really does have some problems or difficulties. I asked for photos and received them. I was shocked. That poor nail had been removed by surgeons and gone through so much. And of course, what surprised me the most was this growth, this little bump, this lump, right there. Which option do you like more? The fact that she had something growing on the ridge, because that's clearly something that shouldn't be there. Well, the presence of a tamponade suggests that she's had this before. She didn't come to us, she went to 2 or 3 other podiatrists in the city of Kazan. It just so happened that she's also from my city, so in general our paths crossed. The podiatrists usually did her manicure, pedicure, yes, a hygienic one. Well, they put in a tamponade there, but the brace didn't work on her. And here's the thing, you see, I removed the tamponade, moved the side fold a little, and blood started to flow. By the way, I won't appear in this video because it will definitely get blocked. So whoever manages to watch it, that's how it is. She went to the gynecologist, but they couldn't help her, and so already in desperation she turned to me for help. Well, for some reason she thought that maybe I would work some kind of miracle, but I'm not going to work a miracle. Naturally, I just invited her as best as I could, and we met. And so basically what we have is what we have. Yes, let's see what we have here. Well, the nails are curling, almost all of them, and there are some sores. So everything is wrapped up there. The packing was removed, but I understand that it needs to be straightened here since it's an arch, very curved. But what bothers me is that blood keeps flowing from this side. And I thought, logically, as it usually happens, that there's a piece of nail there that's digging in. That's usually the case, meaning the edge of the nail plate cuts into the side fold. And there you go, inflammation, blood pus and all that. Here I started drying her wound. I put special hemostatic pads there. Now, as you can see in the video, I'm doing tamponade to slightly move the fold aside. The first one fell off because I was a bit, let's say, excited about the fact that such a complicated case came to me. And I was in that state too. I was a little bit in shock. I didn't degrease her finger at first, but after using alcohol wipes the second time, the tape stuck well. I'm continuing to dry the wound again because I understand that if it keeps bleeding, no matter how hard I try, nothing will work. I just won't be able to find that very wall. The little tampons turned out to be really good. I tried them here on the girls' advice. We bought them for the salon, found this cool thing, and I really liked it. Here, no, since there's no contract with this company, sorry. If someone contacts me privately, I'll answer, it's not a problem. We take out our tampon and once again check whether it actually stops the blood or not. And it seems like this time I more or less managed to do something. Here I start to suspect that there isn't really anything special here, like the nail fold isn't super huge or ingrown, but sometimes the fold is just tucked in and you might simply not see it. I've said it many times already, very often this kind of work is basically done by feel, you could say almost blindly. This was exactly that type of case. The first time I didn't cut enough, the second time I just removed a small piece of the nail fold. I don't think it's anything super critical. And here I realized that she's not bleeding because the nail's digging in, but because of this granuloma she developed this huge swollen growth, and it turns out that's what's actually bleeding. Of course, I advised this girl to see a surgeon, but she had a bad experience. She'd already had her nail removed, but oddly, no one addressed the granuloma. I told her she should see a surgeon and find a good specialist, perhaps at a private clinic. She still needs to remove this growth because it shouldn't be there. You might think it's just unattractive. But the problem is that this growth is constantly rubbing against her socks and shoes. Yes, in summer she wears open shoes which constantly rub against something. And as we saw at the beginning, her legs are swollen, plus there's also the weight. Well, that's a fact. Sorry, let's not take offense. I did warn you. Of course, there's pressure on the nails, and what I dislike the most is, yes, we can fix the nails. Okay, but this granuloma is constantly being injured and it keeps bleeding. This isn't normal and it's not good. By the way, here we're already installing the 3TO hook system for her. Everything here is more or less standard. The first time I put on the bracket, I used the wrong size and left it that way to show this can happen. It doesn't always work out the first time and it won't happen to everyone. It's hard to estimate the size when the wall is bent, so I'll put it up now and adjust later. And then I'll take it off. But for now, let me tell you where our conversation went. I noticed that she, just like another recent model of mine, also has reduced sensitivity. Her second toenail is very twisted, but she doesn't feel it. The nails on her other foot are also twisted and digging in, yet she feels nothing. We also see her weight, we see swelling. Of course, I would be interested in how her blood sugar is. What about it? She said she had a work medical checkup. She works in food service where everything is serious and they're always monitored. That's true, but there they check for, well, how contagious a person is. Well, I mean, whether she's dangerous for the customers or not, that's something completely different. I asked her, I was really insistent that she had to come back to me in 3 days. So during these 3 days while she wouldn't be with me, she should find the time to go and get a blood sugar test. There will be a drum roll and a pause. Her blood sugar is 10.6. Of course, she was completely shocked too that it happened this way, that she somehow missed the moment when her blood sugar went up. And she thought that during medical checkups at work, all of this was being monitored too. It turned out that no, that's not how it works. So what I want to tell you guys is, if you suddenly notice something unusual, yes, I also asked some questions in advance. You know, it's often like I seem to eat very little, but I'm not losing weight, yes, and there's constant swelling and so on. Well, of course, this is, somewhat indirect, but these are also certain warning signs for our body. You don't have to be a doctor to understand that this needs to be checked. In general, it really should be checked. But especially if it so happens that you notice something similar in yourself, then of course go and get it checked. Because, 10 to the 6th is no joke, because now I already work and I was working back then too. Taking into account that she might have high blood sugar, of course I was very afraid that she was constantly bleeding that growth, you know. There, well now everything is clear. I'll show you the second appointment soon. Here we're almost done. It's good this was discovered. While unpleasant and at times even shocking for a person, it's important. But there are advantages. The plus is that at least now the conditions of the problem are clear and the problem itself is clear, which can and should be worked on. Essentially, it's a sugar diet. Register with a doctor, monitor your condition, keep it under control, and your health will improve. It's not fatal. People can live with it, sometimes for a long and happy life. You just need to live with this in mind. People live with poor eyesight and all sorts of different conditions. Well, and we'll fix the nail. I don't know how many months it will take, but I'll do my best to show you the progress. Here, after installing the correction system and placing the tamponade, I'm checking how comfortable it is for her, making sure nothing rubs or presses anywhere. This is an important detail because you can't send a client home if something is bothering them or causing discomfort. But the fact that she had reduced sensitivity, of course, made me cautious, and I tried to pay close attention to even the slightest signs, to the slightest movements of her body, because if something goes wrong, of course, it wouldn't be good, but in any case, I kept everything under control. After 3 days, things got much better. Wait for progress.